Hello and welcome back to Caveman2Cosmos, a Civilization 4 mod playthrough. We're going to start up again where we left off last time. We just finished up turn 14 and are now in turn 15. You can see here in my home city of Mohawk that we are building a storage pit which will allow us to retain some of the food when we grow up in size. And I'm doing that basically in anticipation of starting to change over from a heavy production environment to a heavy food environment, or rather a heavy food scenario. So we just finished up producing 3 new stone throwers, so let me join those into a single unit which has the size up promotion associated with it. And let's move those guys east down the peninsula. Let's move these stone throwers east as well. And it looks like we have a tribal village here that we can get, but I also have a badger that I could take out. Let me get the tribal, let me get this. I'm easily 8 gold. And it looks like last turn we were able to subdue a pheasant, which is excellent. I can talk a little bit about the subdual mechanism here. So there's a chance, a small chance, whenever your early units attack a animal, that they will, instead of killing the animal, will subdue that animal. What you can then do with the subdued animal is escort it back to your city, or your closest city, depending on where that happens to be. And once there, you can use that animal to quick build either a myth building. In this case, it could be, I believe, a myth about the pheasant or a myth about birds. And for some of the larger animals, the horse, donkeys, camels, etc., it would allow you to maybe build stables or buildings associated with those animals. It varies depending on what the canines can allow you to build a dog training facility, those sorts of things. Once you've researched the technology, it doesn't allow you to bypass the technology. It just allows you to quick build some of those buildings. So I'm going to escort that pheasant back to my city. Looks like we've got a viper that's spawned here on top of the tar pit. Let's see if I can hand that over to the stone throwers and move this wanderer. I think I will attack that barred badger. Move these stone throwers further east. And let's see, I'm going to hug the coast here. And we found a desert tortoise. So I believe, let me see if I can subdue the desert tortoise. Alas, no. I just killed him for a little bit of production. I'll move the pheasant east, or west rather, and continue to explore east with this wanderer. So we see here we've now researched cooperation. This allows us, our workers, to build slightly faster, which in the grand scheme of things doesn't really add up right at this particular moment, but will be, as well as some new buildings and some new promotions, but not much with this particular one, although it is, again, another key technology. And we finished our storage pit. So here's at the point where we need to kind of make a decision on how we're going to move forward. So we've got the community discussion, which will give me some education, and I feel that's important. We need to start generating some education so we can start offsetting some of the negatives of disease and crime, as well as it gives us a little more culture, which hopefully means we'll get to our first trait that we can assign to our leader. And let's see, let's also add the root tuber to this. And we've also got one of our first buildings that can be used to combat crime, the lookout post. Unfortunately, it does cost maintenance, and since we're not bringing in any gold at this particular point, and we don't have a lot of gold to fall back on, I'm going to hold off for the short term. Although I don't want this to get too far out of hand that it causes me more negatives than it already has. It looks like we've got, at least right now, we're only suffering a little bit. But if we let it get out of hand, it can get quite substantial. Alright, let's move this unit forward. And let's ungroup these and group this with this. And head these back towards our city. And let's take out this Viper if we can. We've got a Badger here. Oh, we subdued a Badger. Excellent. We can send that Badger back towards our city as well, which might mean that I'm going to need to produce maybe a few more stone thrower units and maybe even a brute in order to start moving what I'm subduing back towards my home city. And we have finished up the community discussion and are beginning work on the root tuber. So at this point, I believe I want to change over to food production, because in 29 turns I can, and it should be less than that because I am generating, or should be generating, extra food from hunting. And in 5 turns I'm going to research root tubers, which will add 1 more to this. So let's start with that. The other advantage of going to this is that if I'm producing units, although I'm not going to be growing because food will be put into growing the units, I'm not losing as much as I think from the base production, because the excess food can go towards the production of units. So for the time being, and I was wounded during that exchange, but let's move this unit back and hope that that lynx does not attack me. Now, not all animals are particularly aggressive. You can tell sometimes by the icon on the standard here. These tend to be non-aggressive animals. These can be both aggressive or non-aggressive, and then there's another one that looks like 3 claw marks down the standard that is almost always very aggressive. And one that, at least early on, you need to avoid and hope that it doesn't turn out to be something particularly large, like a tiger. I've had particularly slow starts on more than a few occasions because of a rogue tiger running around just outside my borders and being unable to send out any units to hunt because they were immediately slaughtered by the tiger. Hopefully that doesn't happen here. So I move that unit there. Move this unit back out to meet that wanderer. And we will send this wanderer back out. And again, it pays to hunt as often as you can, because not only does that bring you food, which means there are fewer turns. See, we've already down to 28 turns from 29 turns just because of some of the hunting that we're doing. But it also gives you production, which can shorten the production of root tubers. And again, we're now down to 4 turns on the root tubers because of that. I may want to move him over here so I can maybe catch a glimpse around the back of this mountain, these pair of mountain unit tiles. Okay, so move this across the river. We can begin exploring this area over here. Bring those units up there. And it doesn't look like that lynx has become particularly aggressive. So let me see. Oh, it didn't give me as much of a viewpoint as I had hoped. Let's move these back. This is one of my favorite quotes. It's one of the, again, the Jack Handey deep thought quotes, and I find this one particularly amusing. Now we can build a scavenging camp, which means we can now build scavenging camps on animal resources, and it also reveals this whole range of animal resources that we were unable to view before. And it looks like a volcano has quieted down, although it's a volcano that we don't know about. Otherwise, by clicking on that, it would have taken me to that volcano. So it looks like we have some bison relatively close, but not a lot of animal resources within a short distance. Oh, we have some cows over here, but I don't see any other resources within viewpoint of an animal variety. So it looks like we are going to be relying heavily on ground troops and archery troops, and not so much on horse troops, unless we get lucky and maybe in the fog of war we have some units. So let's move these back closer to the city. And I want to keep scouting, so another bison unit. Oh, we've encountered our first civilization. Willem van Orange of the Dutch Empire. There shall be peace in our time, sir. And at this point, if you could see, we can go let's discussing something else. What do you think of yes, there really isn't a lot to do at this point, again, because we haven't researched some of the technologies necessary to interact at a more advanced state with our neighbors. At this point, all we can really do is avoid them or go to war with them. So I'm going to hand off the Badger to that and fortify to heal that unit. And oh, King Jong Il of the Korean Empire we have now met. There shall be peace at our time, sir. Farewell and exit. And it looks like those two are very, very close to me, although it looks like the Koreans are slightly more unhappy with me than the Dutch Empire. For some reason, they think we have a large civilization and they are unhappy with us. We do not speak the same language, so that seems to be our problem right here. So apparently we're threatening to the Koreans, but not so threatening to the Dutch. It might be that it's the closeness. The Dutch may be a tiny bit further away than the Koreans, and therefore feel less threatened by my civilization. I am in fact the worst enemy of Kim Jong-il. Wonderful. Well, I can't say that I'm going to lose any sleep over that. Oh, and our first full barbarian unit. It looks like it may have taken out the unit that was sitting there since it's damaged. These clubmen, unfortunately, are, compared to my units, fairly powerful. It is also, let's see if I can see, it is a squad, so it is a larger unit than a standard unit. And an exceptional quality, so I'm going to want to avoid that, and perhaps going to have to produce a unit of brutes in order to kind of combat that. For the short term, I'm going to move myself away from them and continue to hunt around. If I can find the borders of the Dutch, it'll give me an idea about how close that they are. My wanderer here is finished healing, and we'll probably lose badly to this lynx, so I'm just going to ignore this lynx and move my units back up here, because I do want to explore along this coast and see what's up here. If it goes this way or heads back this way, I don't know. So like to explore as much as possible, particularly to find my neighbors. Oh, a pride of cave lions. So these are a particularly strong unit. So I'm going to probably I'm going to lose this wanderer, more than likely. They're going to kill me because they're going to realize that they're much stronger than I am. It would be nice if I could subdue them, but not with the current units, and I'm going to have to be careful as I head that direction to avoid those. So let's finish moving this unit. I will move it over this way. That looks like that's a stone thrower. Finish up that turn. We can see we're only 1.1% way through the game on turn 22. And as I feared, my wanderer was destroyed by the Pride of Cave Lions. And the Green Man is one of the nature factions, if you will, civilizations. Alright, so I finished up that. We are now generating 5 per turn. We will be growing in 19 turns. Excellent. That means I can get back to a nice, happy production state. I think that... bug catcher. 7 turns, and will give me some food. Tide pools will give me food as well, but the unhealthiness will actually eat up one of those. So I think, given that most everything here, let me do the bug catcher. Bugs are one of the resources that we will gain. So let's start down that road. And I guess let's add a couple of brutes to the end of that queue. I should be able to build those fairly quickly with the bonus associated with the food. I'm going to ungroup these and send the pheasant in. It should be safe enough. And send these back out. Let's see. Oh, and we have, so this banner here is for the Neanderthals. So this is a Neanderthal brute, which is a little stronger than a normal brute at 2 strength, as opposed to the normal brute, which is a 1 strength. So there are Neanderthals running around, and in fact, there may be that there's a Neanderthal civilization somewhere on the map. I've played games where we've had Neanderthal civilizations. Not every game, but it is something that does come up. So we'll have to keep an eye out for that. Their units tend to be stronger than the equivalent, although there are some negatives, I think, in research associated with them. More pheasants. But let's get this badger back. We're about to finish persistence hunting. And again, we're still the worst enemy of King John Yield. Again, I'm terribly upset about it. Oh, it looks like we have... And again, it's hard to tell sometimes, particularly in the woods, some of these icons. But we have a poultry resource on these hills and in these woods. So that's a nice bonus, because you can get feathers from poultry and give you a little bit of an extra bonus and happiness from the feathers as a resource. We have a lizard. I believe I will kill those lizards moving forward. Again, I'm not going to survive that fight, and we're on the edge of a desert tile here. So, we've got camels. Excellent. Means the Koreans may be desert fighters or camel fighters. Oh, and there's a herd of bison. And again, here's where the size matters, comes comes in here. We have a herd of bison, which, as you can see from the group, is 101 to 600 units. And although they're not great fighters, because of the number of units, they have a very great, a significant strength of 4.5, which at this era is almost insurmountable, even with a well-promoted unit. It'll be many years before I'll be able to hunt the bison successfully, or rather many turns before I'll be able to hunt the bison successfully. So we're going to get some hunting promotions are now going to be available for my units. Hunter 1 here, which gives them an increased chance to subdue, as well as additional damage or additional percentages versus animals, as well as our first true hunting unit. Not a true hunting unit in the true sense that it's a hunter, but one that seems to do a little better against the animals with a plus 200% versus wild animals. Whereas the Wanderer had an additional bonus, it wasn't a true hunting unit, whereas this is the first of the line of hunting units. So I'm going to hand the Badger off to this and send this back out here where I can maybe do some more hunting. And we're back in the pheasant. And so I can construct the myth of pheasant, which will give me some bonus research, always a plus, and eventually will give me some bonus culture once we invent writing. So that's a near instantaneous build. And we can see here that we've got the myth fire that we built, but for the animal myths, they show up here under special. So we've got the myth of pheasant, which gives me +1. And the research. So we're now at 15 research per turn. And I'm going to continue heading north along the coast. And since I can't do anything to those things, now here's where then I really like about this particular mod is that territory that is particularly harsh actually does damage to your units, so that just like in the real world, deserts and tundra are often barriers between civilizations early on. And that is the case here with deserts. I'm going to lose 15% of my unit's health every turn, which, given the math, means it'll only last about 7 turns, 8 turns at most before that unit will die. And it will kill you. I have not paid attention to units that were crossing the desert and had them die on me. It is, one of those things you just have to be careful of. You can make a quick foray in there to see maybe something, but in fact I think I will, because there is a cactus desert there. Let me see what's in this area here. Desert. Oh, but a river. Oh, and a maybe this looks like, oh, this is not a lake. This is in fact the coast. So there's no way across here except through the desert. So this may actually end up being some kind of barrier between any civilizations that are maybe on the other side of this ocean, at least until until canoes that can traverse the coastal tiles are invented, and we can then produce those. So it looks like maybe Korea has a good reason to fear me, because they're on the wrong side of the desert, if you will. Oh, Koreans must have done something wondrous, because they have made a very large jump forward in their score. Ah, we've got our first trait. Now what we're going to be adding here is a positive trait, although this particular mod does add some negative aspects to even the positive traits, although for the most part the traits here that I'm selecting are mostly positive. And and then there are negative traits that you will be forced to choose later on, and in cases like that, even though the trait is mostly negative, there are some positives to the trait as well. So I always like to pick scientific early on, because again, I think that scientific boost gives me that extra bit of oomph, and helps me get towards some of the better technologies that I need, because we're coming up on tracking here, which is a technology that allows me to build a trail, which means I can now hook up resources. That's an important one. But it also gives me even better unit, which is the tracker, which allows me to hopefully hunt a little more effectively once I build a couple of trackers. And also enables some promotion, better hunting promotions. So we can see here my unit is actually hasn't taken any damage yet, which is interesting. The wanderers may be immune to apparently in the cactus desert you don't take damage. It's only in the pure desert. I didn't notice that. Excellent. That means that gives me perhaps another turn if I get to the floodplain. So it's, you know what, it's worth the chance to try to cross this desert. If for no other reason, to try to get that goody hut. Let's see, killed a pheasant. Let's move the badgers back to my city and continue my trek northward. Another goody hut. Oh, we have a promotion now for this stone thrower. So my first promotion, I can actually take promote unit hunter. Hunter 1. In fact, I think I will take that. That will give them more power versus units. Oh, I have a moose near me. Haha. However, the moose are strong at 2.66 strength. But you can see here that I now have a 20% chance to subdue that animal, which means there's a better chance that if I were to attack, although I won't attack this moose, I'm not likely to win, not at a 33. If that were reverse odds, I might risk it for the chance of getting a moose and the production and the food associated with a moose, but at that rate, it's not really worth it. So I'm going to move around the moose here, see if I can see some other animals to hunt. And you'll see here that my wanderer here has taken some damage crossing the desert. Now oases will allow me to, you can run from oases to oases just like humanity did in ancient times. More gold, excellent. And we have reached the top of the continent. Interesting. So we are not on that large of an area. Hopefully I can expand maybe this way without too much, although I don't know where the Dutch are, so I'll have to bring this unit back down this way and see if the Dutch are maybe there. We might be starting an early war, perhaps. So we can now make trails. We can also produce a scout, which is a stronger wanderer type unit, as well as the tracker, and we can also do the master track. Well, we can eventually find the master tracker if we're lucky. There are also apparently some other trackers, if assuming we ever get the Cree culture. So in order to get the Cree culture, that we would be able to build it, we would have to have an improved and connected rabbit in the city vicinity. Since I haven't seen any rabbits, I'm not likely to pick up the Cree culture. Maybe later, but not right now. And now we're researching cave dwelling. So these will be, let me move up there and see if I can see anything. Mohawk will be growing in 16 turns. And the bug catcher will be completed in 2 turns. And more cow. So let me move there. Actually, I should have gone out to that spit of the land so I could see what was out there. If maybe there's a short run to an island, that would be useful information to know. It looks like we're about to get our first culture expansion on that island. So, you know what, let me go that way. Actually, it looks like there might be beavers. Yes, looks like there's beavers in this swamp. So another reason maybe to build a city out this direction. Alright, the moose has wandered off. You see what's this direction. Get the badger back into my city. And I can now promote this wander either to a scout or to a tracker unit. But for 5 gold I can go to a scout. I believe... I'll hold on to the gold for the time being. I don't need it that badly, and these units are expendable. I can produce them relatively quickly. But let me see what I get there. Ooh, a new technology. Oral tradition. It makes my cities all happier and allows me access to a couple of wonders of nature, as well as a new civic. So let's see, oral tradition. Oral tradition falls under the knowledge, I believe. So let me scroll down here. Education. So again, that increases the science in all cities. It allows me to build certain buildings a little bit quicker, as well as increasing the knowledge, the education per city. So we should now see the property should be increasing by 1. I think I have to hit enter before that takes effect. It isn't technically in, the revolution isn't technically completed yet, even though it said minus, or 0 turns. And we now have a new stat, flammability, which means that as we build certain types of buildings that are associated with fire, such as the fire pit, they increase flammability, which gives you an increased chance of one of your buildings maybe burning down, or multiple buildings burning down. The higher this value becomes, the more chance you have of a building being destroyed due to that fire. You'll have to rebuild it. There are also, I'm sure you can guess, buildings that you can build that will reduce this number. So we've adopted oral tradition, which, as you can see, increases my production of scientific research even more. So we can now do cave dwelling. It says automatically built by your citizen when its requirements are met. There has to be caves within the city vicinity. Since we don't have any, this isn't going to be done. But we'll see here that we did in fact build the tree hollow housing and the animal bureau. So I will heal up this unit, and the lone lynx. So I have a decent chance of, oh, and it looks like our borders have expanded for Mohawk. So now we've got the fat cross that everybody is used to seeing. And since we've done tracking, I'm going to let that unit build a track from my rice so that I can bring the rice in, which will make my city more healthy. Now, in some cases, the animals that you bring in will allow you to get a couple of different myths, depending on what they are, depending on where you are in the technology tree. So actually I can do the myth of Earth or the myth of the badger. Since I have a decent chance of getting another badger, and the myth of the Earth is likely to go away at the end of this era, whereas this will stay until writing. This goes away when we hit sedentary lifestyle, which is the beginning of the ancient era. So I'm going to gain more from this one now, and I can gather this one up a little bit later. So we've constructed that myth. Badger disappears, and I gain a point of technology. I've got a flock of ducks there, but I really want to see what's out there, and nothing. Oh, and then these are basically goody huts on the ocean, but we can't do anything with them until we've researched something that can actually traverse the water and harvest those items. Let's see if we can... Ah, excellent. We've subdued a lynx. Always something that I aspire to do. Again, the more myths you can bring in, the more research your society is generating. Therefore, the quicker you get to some of those really keystone technologies that can be a game changer. All right, we finished the trio of brutes. Let's see what we can build here. So we've got a storyteller now. The storyteller allows you to increase education or increase culture. I believe it's culture. We'll have to build one here just to see what it does. I don't remember. I don't build them very often, but they can be used to build myths at later points. And we also have the rock shelter, which is a better, albeit takes a lot longer to get to, wonder than the El Montverde. I think I'm going to start this because I can use some money and use that money to build the lookout post and start to get my crime negative so I can gain back some of that production that I had lost. But let's see if there's anything special we might want to. You know what? Let's do the hunting instruction first. So that any new hunters I build will get the hunter one automatically. And so a lot of buildings early on, they give your units promotions just from the start. And those become bonus promotions that can become quite substantial over time. And yes, we could do our first melee unit. Very well, carry on. I'm going to link these up. And for the time being, I'm going to leave them over here where they can guard this unit as it builds the trail. So we've got a herd of gembok. Reasonably good chance. Or a lizard. Let me take out this lizard. We've got lynxes. Let's escort those back. So we're actually doing pretty well. Let me bring those forward and we'll hand off the lynx while that heals. We're now researching basketry. And we are at turn 31. So we'll go to about turn 45 and stop this particular video. So we got a weaver's hut that we can now build, but it requires hemp, flax, cotton, bamboo, wool, or hemp fibers. So we'll have to see what we can get there. It reveals cloth. So I'm going to bring those forward. Heal this, although it's going to take a long time. It got pretty heavily damaged fighting off that lynx. We've got a promotion here with the Wanderer. First promotion, we'll give it Hunter. And I believe I'm going to upgrade this unit to a Tracker. Still has the same movement. Whereas a Scout is a non-combat unit, it is not able to actually attack. This unit can hunt animals, and so I want to be able, as I move around over here, hunt animals to bring them back. So I'm going to promote that. And that will use up that unit's turn. And we will put this on Sentry. And move this unit further south. We're still behind the Korean Empire in points, but that doesn't mean much since we've got 3 points for population. I believe you get 3 points for every population point. So their quick jump to 3 might have been because they got an extra population point. But you don't get a lot of points from technologies, so it looks like there are 6,300 technologies, so I'm going to have to guess. A seat is a group or party of 2 to 6 badgers. got a flock of seagulls and a flock of ducks, but I can't actually get them with my hunter here. And these hills badland will actually damage my unit if I move on to it. You can see there, like I say, extreme environments can damage your units, and if you're not careful, you can kill your unit. Even though this is on a river, it's got fresh water, apparently the badlands are very bad. So the mob of aurochs. I still can't defeat them, even though I have a much better unit for hunting. Still, the favor is in there, the favor of this herd of this mob, which is 7 to 20 units, but they are considered large and therefore do more damage. Dormant volcano. Let's kill these ducks. Oh, I've subdued some ducks. Excellent. Although I'm far from home, and I may not make it back. They may not make it back. So we've connected rice. We can see here now that, we now are health from resources, the rice, means is equal to the unhealth. Therefore, we're no longer losing food due to an unhealthy situation. We can see here that the education here may have started to offset the crime. So let's go to the special here. We should be able to see we've got, education, argumentative awareness. It increases the anarchy length, and the weight between civics or state religion changes. That starts at +10 for the education value. But we also see education intuitive, which gives us +1 to our research, +5% research, +5% to our what do we call it? Commerce, raw commerce, and +5% to our research and +5% to our production. So this is excellent. So we now see that the modifier is now +4%, whereas it was under the crime is there, but the disease common cold is -1%. So we're now at a +4% instead of a -5%, -1%. So excellent. We're starting to come out of the truly, I wouldn't say awful period, but the period where we weren't really growing that effectively. As education kicks in and we start to be a little more effective in other things. If we can get this crime down below 10, then we'll gain a little more production. And the hunting instructions will kick in here, and that will give us another point of education. Now, education is interesting, and that is the number of citizens go up. This value is offset by what they call population decay, which means as the population goes up, you need more and more positive education in order to keep this value growing. And in fact, I've reach times where the population starts to bloom, but I don't get enough education buildings to bring this up, and I start to get negative education, which brings this value back down. So I don't have a lot of other things to do with this. I guess I can build a path over here. I'll bring that over there with those things to guard them. See if we... I subdued a fox. Look, that's going to be burdensome to bring back around. But it is valuable. I'll bring these ducks along with me. It looks like I'm going to have to go this way anyhow, so I might be able to... This unit might be healed by that time. Looks like we've got a pack of wolves, which are reasonably strong. And they might attack this. Now this is a little risky because animals can spawn within the borders of your territory. So something might spawn here that is able to take out my lynx, but I think in 2 turns. That's unlikely. And I'd really like to get this back over that direction. Alrighty, let's see if we can get... Alright. So there does not appear to be a lot, and I appear to be out on a spit of land that does not have a lot. You can see where we kind of looked at initial city placement. So we've got some hunting camps that we can build now. Looks like we could get pelts. Uh-oh, we committed a faux pas. This gaffe has adversely affected our relations. -1 relation hit with Willem Van Orange. Well, I guess we'll just have to deal with it. So we can add gather grains, which will add +1 to that. But I'm just going to build the trail for right now. I do not have the technologies to research silk, and I won't have them for quite a while. So this is where we've kind of tentatively stuck cities, so I better hit this one early if I'm going to out-compete these guys. These guys haven't expanded yet to the Fat Cross, but they will. So we'll have to be conscious of that. There is culture flipping in this, so it is possible. Oh, it looks like the stone thrower here subdued a wolf. Interesting. I'll bring the subdued lynx over there. Alrighty, we'll leave this unit here. Bring the lynx into the city. We have a Neanderthal brute. He might... I better move that over there. I may lose one or both of those units. We've got a pack of wolves. We'll leave them alone. I'm going to get over here and get this back. I'm going to hide this. Okay, it looks like our stone thrower had killed the Neanderthal brute. We were under attack. So that was a good move, and they defended well. So excellent. Good for those guys. Get back here, and we're going to cross into the desert. Looks like we're going to have at least 2 turns. I could go this way. We've got an oasis there. But it's going to be not long, but we're going to take some damage. Heal up here. Yeah. Solitary pheasant. We'll take that out. The lynx. I think I'm gonna upgrade this to a tracker. Okay. Yeah. Keep them still. Construct myth lynx. Give me a little more research. And again, I seem to be falling behind my competitors here. But we're about to hit 2, and that will really help. And we now can implement the civic subsistence. So again, I always, at least this early on, I like to see what they do, because some of them are not really that useful. And subsistence is down here. Under economy. So right now we are in communalism, but that was giving unhappiness and negative trade routes. And, so basically it was -5 in all cities. So subsistence starts to give us some bonuses. A little better production, a little more food production. We now can actually do some trade routes a little bit more, and allows construction of the wet nurse's hut. It doesn't Oh, we could do that as well before. So we're going to revolt. We've got some more hunting camps that we can build. Oh, Hunter 3 is now available, and we also have a Master Hunter promotion that we can apply to our Master Hunters. And we've grown to size 2, so let's just make sure that the system chose what I had hoped it would choose, so this is what we really want here. We get much better production, and as we go up to size 2, our crime now increases. So again, as the city becomes larger, all of these become, this gets a little bit less, these become a little bit stronger, and it requires more and more resources in order to combat these. As well as the pollution now also becomes a problem as the city grows in size. It isn't just the buildings, but it's also the size, the population of the city. That can become a problem. So we've got 9 turns left on this. Let's add the grass gatherer to the tail end of that, because we're going to want more production. Knowledge inheritance is another good one. And we're going to want the lookout post. Animal traps. And we're probably going to want to add this as well. And trails. Now, trails add a trade route, but it also increases crime. So we'll have to see where this lookout post leaves us with crime when we're done. And then decide at that point whether we want to try to build the trail. But we now have a nice queue of buildings. We can ignore the queue here for the time being, unless of course the research gives us something really cool. We may want to actually do a couple of more hunting type units to try to take advantage of more and more of the animals. So we'll leave that there to guard that builder. The stone thrower is Hunter 2, or Hunter 1, but you see that there's no Hunter 2 promotion available to that unit. So I can go up here, but I'm going to lose ability to subdue a little bit. I'd really like to get the subdued wolf. I may go to war just to get it. It'd be a nice little bonus, but I think I'm going to go with the woodsman because it gives me a little better chance to subdue. And let's get these moving this way to meet the duck. Duck! So it looks like we actually could build a city on this desert around here because of the oasis here. We would, I believe, be able to build it on one of these desert tiles. We could get the pistachios there and take advantage of maybe build a coastal city here. Although ideally we probably want to build it here. But we could also take advantage of, looks like we have incense here as well. That'd be a luxury resource that would be nice to take advantage of. So again, these were tentative locations, but we might actually want to maybe build something here to take advantage of that three deep. We'll have to see. It's a little early on. We don't even have our first settler type unit yet, and we won't for a little while longer at least. But let me, so we are getting, the tracker is taking damage. Let's see if we kill a hawk. But we're not going to take any more damage in this area, so that's good. And the other nice thing here is that our gatherer units, our building type units, also gain experience. So they gain a little bit of experience every time they build an improvement on a tile, or add a trail, or upgrade a trail. It takes a while for them to do it, but eventually do it. So they're a little more efficient. In this case, we've got a field worker. So on a flat field, this unit is a little more efficient. So I think I'm going to head back this way. Now, at this point, a trail only allows me to add connectors to resources, so that they can now be added to as we can see here, as resources available to the cities. So we have rice here. Your units can't move any faster on the trail, and I believe paths after this do the same thing. They don't improve the ability of units to move faster. Again, these are really basic things. Think of them no worse as, single file trails through the woods that are overgrown for the most part, but enough of a trail that you can tell that people have passed this way. Begin moving. Horses, but far outside of my city, and probably close enough. Again, I suspect that Willem of the Dutch Empire is probably somewhere around in here. With the Neanderthals and the animals, you typically don't see things traveling too far from home this early. So we've got the enemy has been spotting. Oh, we've got a stone thrower. Looks like a Neanderthal brute near my home territory. So I've got my own brute here with pretty piss poor, so I'm going to fortify him and make a trail. So I've got a reasonably good chance of taking out the moose here with my stone thrower. So I'm going to try it. I killed a moose. Let's move back west. Go west, young man. Go west. Alright, this looks like this is a peninsula, but we'll head this direction, and it is a peninsula. So I'm going to fortify for one turn, just to let that unit go up to maximum, because now that the brutes are starting to spawn, that unit is not quite as good as it could have been. Let's see, we've got a new civic banditry. Let's see the big picture. Now this may not be worth it. Some of these civics give you some good short-term benefits, but the long-term benefits are not worth it. So we've got a militia. See, now we've got increased unhealthiness, but we do get additional experience points for new units, which we didn't get there. Free military units, but we lose gold, we lose culture, and we lose, but we do gain some espionage points. That's what that symbol there means. Training of ambushers, thieves, and rogues. But increased, it seems we get our civilization times +1 for, so you know what, it's not really worth it for me. So I'm going to leave it on militia. The extra experience would be really nice, but a lot of those other things are counter to building building my civilization quickly. And this enemy's been spotted near Mohawk. Yep, that was that brute. I probably really need to build another brute or two. Maybe he'll attack me. We'll see. This unit is, let's keep building that. Fortify. And we'll bring this unit out and get that fox back up too. Alright. Kill the badger. Alright, we're almost entering. We got a couple more turns before we stop this. I think that since this early does tend to go a little slow. Oh, we see our first bear. Now bears, me and bears, they're strong, very strong units. You can see here, very strong units, and they're fairly aggressive, and I've lost a lot of units to bears over the games that I've played. So I tend to avoid them for for reasons that hopefully won't show up too obviously in this particular playthrough. Let's see, killed a duck. Oh, turn this into a hunter unit. And let's see. Sure, what the heck. Let's upgrade him to a tracker as well. That will give him. And we have a brute. Now I should have a decent chance of. He may attack me. But the scrub doesn't give me as good a defense bonus. No defense bonus over here. He may or may not attack me. I believe I have an advantage on defense, but again, this is why I tend to let units heal whenever they have the opportunity, because you don't know what's going to pop up. And I really would like to get this fox back to my... So I will move here. Gain a little bit of defense from the scrub, and hopefully this unit decides to go this direction as opposed towards me. But my guess is he probably will attack me. The barbarians tend to attack whomever they can. My tracker was able to defeat them. The wise woman. We have our first unit here that can combat unhealth, or combat the sickness, the disease stat in the city. That's what these do, and that's what the build-up disease control. And they themselves, if I do the alt, they provide inside a city. They provide -2 on disease per turn. So I can build my first wise woman. Oh, nice. And let's see, only one turn to heal up, so I'm going to heal up this unit because I think I can turn him into a pretty decent hunter now that I've got 2 promotions for hunter. That's definitely worth the... Let me finish this trail off. And we've got a stone thrower here. So what tends to happen, and since we're towards the end of 45 here, we'll finish this turn up and hit continue and then stop for the thing, is what tends to happen is that all your units hunt early on, but now that we've got specialized hunters, they can be promoted so that they're exceptional hunters. They have high attack and defense values against animals, which means they can now start taking out the bears and the herds of auroch and bison that are roaming the lands. And your units that were doing okay hunting but early on now become more military style units. And we can see here from the overlay here, if we look at the mouse over here and the great persons here, we've got 25 out of 120 experience. We've generated 9 great general points and 16 great hunter points. So hunters, these units that I've got here as designated trackers, generate great hunter points, whereas the stone throwers and the brutes and spearmen and what have you generate great general points. And they kind of compete against each other, as we'll see here as we get a little closer towards actually generating one of these great military people. Whether that ends up being a hunter or a general, we won't know until we get to that point. Hopefully a hunter, because great hunters are phenomenal. They have great chances to subdue animals, and they have twice the strength of a normal hunter unit of their era. So I'm going to give this stone thrower, I'll give her hunter 1. I don't think I can go past hunter 1, but I still want to be able to hunt with this unit to a certain degree. But I'm going to move it back so that we can maybe take out this brute that's hanging around outside the borders of my civilization. We've now got a hunter unit. I'm going to fortify this unit. And I will hit enter on this turn. So I would like to thank you very much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please hit subscribe on the button below, and a like if you could. Any comments down below. If you have a name you would like me to name my parent city of Mohawk here, please let me know. I can rename it here and give it something a little more original than Mohawk. So thank you very much, and we will see you in the next episode. Thank you so much.